Speed of Life 89 here, and today's what we're going to do is I'm going to start the go-kart project I've been too lazy to get to, and I really wouldn't start this unless I woke up early today. I usually don't wake up till it's close to dark. Okay, but anyways, here's what I'm starting off with. I got this. It's a single-seater. It's kind of small. I actually went for a smaller one because I wanted to be lighter, and I don't really need the leg room. What I've done to it so far is I got it. It had a blown up 5-horse Briggs & Stratton on it. They tried to tell me it wasn't blown up. I knew it was blew up. I ended up trading some dirt bike that needed a whole lot of work and was basically irreparable for this go-kart. And I put this 5-horse Tecumseh on it, and I welded up this roll bar all the way around because I didn't like the how it was just bolted on there, and welded up there. Right up there, because I used some like crappy plastic unions, and I ain't trusting myself getting rolled over at any amount of speed with a crappy plastic union. And somebody built this rear suspension section for it, and it's not the best, and I'll get around to re-welding it or just rebuilding it completely, but right now I'm gonna get ready to do the motor swap. And the motor we're going to be using isn't that Tecumseh anymore. We're going to be using this. I decided just to put this motor off of this it's a 1982 Twin Star Honda. It cheats like a motherfucker when it's running. Needs rings put in it, and quite frankly the bike, if the turn signals all worked and the lights worked and all that nonsense, I would probably just put rings in it and keep it as another bike. Not that I don't have enough of those, but really it's missing a lot of parts, and there's a lot of parts broken, and none of the lights work, and I have next to nothing in it, and it's cheating oil, and the exhaust is shot. So I'm just going to take the exhaust off, weld it up, take the motor off, wiring harness, and weld up some brackets and put it on the go-kart over there. I don't know how much of that procedure I'm going to show because it's really not that exciting of a procedure. And I might show some points of where I have to fuck with some little nonsense stuff to get to work, but I don't think I'm going to record the whole thing. And plus it's kind of raining, and sometimes it's raining out here, and I just don't want to get my camera wet because it's not really a cheap camera. So I'm just gonna record bits and pieces of it as I go, and I'm not at the shop doing my nonsense. I'm using my welder I got here, which is a crappy stick welder. My good stick welder's at the shop, but I don't feel like going to the shop. I'm gonna get it all tacked up here and then go to the shop so I don't have to drag the bike and the go-kart, and I want to do it at my leisure, and I'll get tacked together with my stick welder and then weld it real good at the shop. And I'll show you some of the process. Fucker gets heavier every time. Victory, kinda, sorta. The heart's out of the beast there. But now for the transplant and the welding and the actual hard work. Shit. Mock-up purpose is done. Now I just gotta do some welding and actually get the brackets in there. Kitty's ruining my shot. But there's for mocking up purposes, and you can see what it looks like when I get freaking done. And this is all in one day, and it's getting kind of cloudy, and it's already rained on me once, but I don't. Some people tell me I don't know when to quit, and I believe them. Front bracket down. Don't look at my awful stick welds. It's a 110 stick welder, and it's a Harbor Freight piece of shit, and I just use it to tack up stuff around the house. But see, look at that. Oh, don't look too close. It's a piece of shit. But I'm gonna go back over it with my MIG welder at the shop. I'm just kind of tacking it all together here, so I can do it at my leisure, and then I'll take it to the shop, and I don't have to leave it apart in the shop and take up space. So I'll just get all tacked up. Well, those are bigger than tacks, but loosely weld it, then I'll finish weld it once I get everything the way I like it. Okay, this is the end for day one, and this is the progress I've made. I got the front mount on, I got the back mount, I gotta trim it down some. I just loosely cut it in case I needed extra. What we're doing here is we're using these two mounts right there and there. Those are the original mounting holes. This is part of the frame off that spare bike I had. Told you I had a spare bike just like this. I've had a lot of motorcycles over the years, and there's the frame that the motor came out of. I'm keeping that. Like I said, good title. It's worth its weight in gold as a good title. And yeah, I'm wanting this so I can take the motor out. I could just weld it in solid, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld a plate up to here and a plate on this side up to here, and then put a bolt through it, and then make another plate that comes over this way and kind of bolts up through the bottom. That's what I'm thinking. It's going to be welded onto here and goes up against it and then bolts in here and here. And that ought to keep it supported structurally that way. If I have to, I'll put a support coming out this way to here, but we'll just see how it plays out once I get it welded up solid. Give it a few yanks, and if it feels sloppy or wobbly, I'll put a support here, but that's a lot of work, and I'm lazy, but I've already said that before. But I made a lot of progress. I've been out here about 4.5 hours. The end of day one. Later. Another day, and I got the wiring done for the go-kart with the motorcycle engine. I've got some other stuff done, like the jack shaft done on it, but it was raining, so I didn't get a chance to film it, so that'll be in the next segment. Might be a next video, might be more on this video. It all depends on what I feel like doing with it. But I extended these wires. This is the connector coming off the wire loom for the ignition key, because this has got to be in the front. It's not long enough. Motorcycle's a lot shorter. I'll plug into there, and I extended this. Is the right hand control, which would be your throttle, but it has the momentary contact switch for the push button start and the on off switch for the ignition, which works the same as the ignition key, but I want to have the on off switch too, just like a motorcycle. I'm not using these buttons, I'm leaving them on now. So when I wire it up, I can get everything working and make sure it works right, and then I'm going to put in a new momentary contact switch and a new permanent on off switch. And I'll have my ignition key, and it'll work with the motorcycle's key. And momentary contact switch will be for the start. You didn't know that if you don't ride motorcycles. And I went through all these wires. They're all connected. I used a 16 gauge wire, which is a tiny bit bigger. When you're doing wiring, you want to do bigger, never smaller, or the exact same size. This is like an odd size that Honda used. It's not quite 16, but it's not 18 either. Went through, soldered all my connections. When I do that, solder them properly with a soldering iron, and then put heat sink over top of them, then you'll never have to worry about them. I don't have them completely wrapped with wiring, because I want them with wiring tape, because I want to make sure everything works fine, and I don't want to have to go through and pick the wiring tape off and change some solder connections. But if you want to learn how to solder right, look up some videos. I'm not going to do a video on soldering, because if you're doing a project like this, you should already know how to solder, or at least watch some other YouTubers. There's about a million videos. But as I said before, you just want to make sure it's soldered good. Have your heat sink on the wire beforehand, and solder it up, and slide the heat shrink over and melt it around. It's a lot better than electrical tape. Electrical tape gets kind of sticky as it gets old, and it'll melt off, and that stuff's permanent. But that's it for now.